Final day of the All-Star break is today, so tomorrow the second half of the Major League Baseball season getting underway. Not just that, the trade deadline also 2 weeks away from today, with several teams expected to make some moves, hoping for a postseason push. And as always, we can expect chaos down the line. So let's welcome in former Marlins president, World Series champion, David Samson. I hope that World Series, what is that called? The thing that you get? The thing, what is it?
A ring?
Called? Not the ring.
A trophy?
The trophy. That's it. Hope you got it out of the closet and it's now somewhere in your house. Let's start with the National League. We're going to go division winners here. NL East, Mets just a half a game back of the Phillies. NL Central, Brewers just 1 game back of the Cubs. Who do you have coming out of each division?
Well, let's start by saying that while it is only the middle of July, it is very common that the division leaders at this point in the season end up winning the division. And there are a couple races that are definitely over, but one of the ones to focus on, actually, NL East, NL Central are both tight, separated by a game in the Central, half a game in the East. I think that the New York Mets will end up winning the National League East. I think they're better from top to bottom. The Cubs, I believe, will end up ahead of the Brewers, though I do think both of those teams will try to get better at the deadline, and we don't even have to spend 1 second on the NL West. But going back to the Mets, Amanda, that's going to be back and forth, back and forth. And what I do believe is that while the Phillies have a deeper lineup, the Mets have the best player on either team, and that's, of course, Juan Soto. They also have a performing bullpen that will get help by the deadline. So at the end of the day, I do think the Mets will prevail.
Okay, the Mets are going to prevail, the Cubs, and the Dodgers we're looking at the best team in baseball right now?
Well, the Tigers are actually the best team in baseball, and they have the biggest division lead. The Tigers have the best record. Would I say that the Dodgers are the best team? I would say no, amongst the best teams. But don't sleep on the Detroit Tigers. They're hiding there in the middle market in the American League, but they've run away with the Central, and they've got a team that actually is built to play October baseball.
All right, let's go to the American League, and I want you to start in the AL East, where things have just been absolutely bananas. Only 3 games separating the Blue Jays, the Yankees, and the Red Sox. I know we talked to Jim Bowden, a couple weeks ago. He's like, the Yankees, yeah, maybe they're slumping. They're going to pop back up over the Blue Jays. And then lo and behold, here come the Red Sox. Start here, work us through the rest of the American League, but who comes out of the AL East to begin?
Well, I'm going to start at the bottom and tell you about the Rays, obviously ignoring the Orioles, who are out of it. But the Rays are a team that once you found out they were playing playoff games at Steinbrenner Field, that was just announced, I decided they're not going to be around. That is just not something that baseball wants really any part of, and so they will fade. But then you've got the Red Sox, who've won 10 in a row and start off the second part of the season post-All-Star break with 9 really tough games, including their first series against the aforementioned NL Central leading Cubs. But I think the Red Sox are likely the better opportunity to go deep. However, from a division standpoint, I'm sticking with the Blue Jays. You're right, the Yankees are cold. That's true. But when I actually look at the 2 teams, now, of course, you've got Aaron Judge, the presumptive MVP. You've got Fried pitching like an ace. Can he stay healthy? Rodon absolutely sort of dominating at the 2-hole as the number 2 starter. Can he be consistent for another couple months? Will Brian Cashman acquire a third baseman like from the Diamondbacks when they sell? A lot of ifs, but the Blue Jays are actually deeper, and I also think that Rogers, the owner of the Blue Jays, they are going to add, so I like them to stay in first place and to end up winning that division. Okay,
work us through the other 2. Who else do you have coming out? I think I saw Tigers and Astros. Why?
Well, we don't have to talk about the Tigers because they're in a division where I think they've got a 69-game lead. So I believe that they've already clinched, though I can't be sure. I haven't done the math. I have to get my calculator out. But let's move on to the Astros. Could it be that the Mariners are positioned to catch them? They've got an interesting series to start here after the All-Star break. But the Astros, we talk about Kyle Tucker and him going to the Cubs, but let's not sleep on what the Astros got back and the help that Smith and Paredes have given the Astros. They are a team that, even without Alvarez, who has been injured, who still, they can't figure out what the story is. He may still be out, but meanwhile, they are in first place, even with him not around. They've got a solid pitching staff, obviously. So I think the Astros prevail.
Okay, let's go back to the Yankees here, because not only do you have them not winning the division, you don't even have them making the postseason at all. They have been inconsistent. I did find a stat that was interesting, which does not bode well for them. They're actually a much better first half of the season team than they are second. The past 3 years, a 325 plus 325 run differential in the first half of the season and 37 in the second half. All that being said, I just found that interesting. Why are you so out on the Yankees now?
Well, remember, when the season started, we talked on CBS, and I talked on Nothing Personal. I did not have the Yankees making the playoffs when the season started. When I looked at what they were doing, and you're talking about Cole being hurt, Heal has a chance to come back, but you don't know how impactful he'll be. They've always had trouble actually pulling the trigger and acquiring a top-line starter or position player at the deadline. I just don't have a ton of faith in the team as a whole. And they're playing in a division where there's just no break. And you've got the Orioles, I believe we looked at plus, is that, I'm counting zeros here on the air, plus 20,000 to win the division. They're not going to win the division, but I don't like playing that team. It's of no interest to me. And when you look at every team they play, you just realize you don't ever get a break. And when you don't get a break and you're an inconsistent team and you're counting on Aaron Judge being a superhuman, godlike Adonis game in and game out, I just think that's hard to come by. And here's the other thing. Is Aaron Judge going to hit 355 for the season? I'll take the under on that. And if you're taking the under, what that means is he's going to have a worse second half than he did first half. And he needed to be the best player on the planet. And the Yankees have a 2-game deficit right now with the Blue Jays, and the Red Sox are right on their tail. And don't sleep on the I've nowhere to play Rays except in front of 10,000 people. So all in all, I think there is a ingredient that exists here where the Yankees are watching October, and then Hal Steinbrenner has to make some tough decisions this offseason.
I was just about to say there will be heads will roll if that does happen. Walk us through the rest of your bracket, David. What have you got?
Well, I think it's such an interesting time in the American League, and people talk about the National League being just so much stronger. But you know what? Between the Red Sox, the Mariners, and how about the Texas Rangers? We don't talk about him. Nathan Eovaldi has an extra $100,000 because the Rangers pretended he was an all-star. He certainly pitched like an all-star. But even in the first round, if you have Red Sox, Blue Jays in the 3-6, can you imagine what a great wild card 2 out of 3 up in Toronto that would be, with the Red Sox going in, looking to just see if they can advance to play the Stros? I obviously do see the Red Sox advancing over the Blue Jays. Not that it will be easy, but all these first-round matchups are just phenomenal, so I have them winning. Then you get the 4-5. Why do I have Texas winning the wild card? Because no matter how you slice it, they're not far removed from when, wait a minute, they won the World Series only a couple of years ago. And when you look up and down the lineup, you say, oh, they're getting a little older. It's not working as well. They don't seem to be hitting. And they've got Patrick Corbin as one of their best starters, the guy who absolutely stunk for the Nationals and stole like a couple $100 million. The fact is, not terrible, good enough to get him there, but not to get past the Mariners. And I love my Brewers, Amanda, do I ever. But when they face the Mets, it's going to be interesting because they're going to beat them. Don't sleep on the Brewers. Great rotation, and they're going to do a CC Sabathia type move if they're smart, bringing in a #1 starter to rent, and then move Peralta and Woodruff down, and then my main man, Yelly, and that's a team that can beat the Mets and then advance to play the Cubs. At the bottom, just heavenly matchup between the Padres and Phillies. I do believe both of them will be wild cards, and that is almost an impossible first-round match to predict, a first-round series. It will be in Philadelphia, and the thing about going into Philadelphia, you're not going to beat them 2 out of 3 at the bank. And don't forget, in that round, all games are at where game 1 is, so the Phillies would host. And then you want to know LCS? I'm going to tell you. And this has nothing to do with my love for Will, because it's deep and it's strong. And I did enjoy having Craig Breslow on my team for a year, but I do see the Red Sox beating the Astros in a series and advancing to the LCS, where they will take on the best team in the league right now, the Detroit Tigers, and that will actually be a really good 7-game LCS. Over in the National League, I'm going to tell you that Murphy over Council. Could it be that the Brew Crew can get back to the LCS and advance for Yelich to a place where he's been but needs to get past to the World Series? Never say never, except then they got to go against the Dodgers, because the Dodgers will take care of the Phillies and it will be relatively fast. And then they got to deal with the Brewers, where I want to say there's an upset so badly, and there is. I have 2 1 versus 6s in the LCS. 1 6 seed will win. But it's not my Brewers, it's the Red Sox. The Red Sox win the pennant. Craig Breslow meets the media and says, Rafi Devers, who? We loved getting rid of him. And then the Dodgers get to say, Yankees, who? In which case, either way, the Red Sox are happy. If they win, they get a ring and a trophy. If they lose, no one has to talk about the Yankees as the last back-to-back team in Major League Baseball. So that's a win-win for everyone and a great World Series. Red Sox, Dodgers.
Look, if that happens, that's a hell of a World Series. You mentioned Will Middlebrooks, our friend, won the World Series with the Red Sox. I called him. I wrote it down. He's on vacation. He goes, this just made my day. He said, I love it, especially from him. Being you, he's going to call you, wants to talk about it. He said he's cautiously optimistic. So, that being said, though, could the Red Sox pull off a shocker and win the World Series?
Dodgers in 5. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. I don't know. Don't make me predict the World Series right now. It's bad enough you have me doing brackets where you can just revisit this and say, what an idiot. But it's going to be a good World Series, and you can't predict the World Series until we get closer. I want to see who both those teams get at the deadline. I want to see if John Henry does what he was supposed to do, which is add, and I want to see what the Dodgers are in terms of their rotation.
Do you know what this is, David? Why you had to do this? This is punishment. I got to see David this summer. He made me eat herring.
Was it good?
No. In sour cream. And
Nice.
I still have nightmares about that, David. It's disgusting.
I got one word for you, Amanda. Zabar's.
I know. That is, your mom's
Okay.
still mad you didn't get the rye bread. How should you go to Zabar's and not get the rye bread?
Zabar's is fire.
It is
Yeah.
good. And his mom was very upset, and he said, yes, I missed out on the rye bread. Dodgers plus 220 right now. The odds to win the World Series. That is, in fact, who David has winning the World Series. But if you're looking to make some money, maybe you believe in the Red Sox. 27-1 odds to win the World Series. David has them going. Maybe they could pull it off.
Break's over, kids. Time to get back to baseball. Soon enough, we're going to be talking trade deadlines, September call-ups, and also pennant chases. But for right now, we're going to make some bold predictions for the second half. And for those of you who are following the action, for the action, Sports Science Larry Hartstein's your guy. And for the seam heads and beyond, we got Matt Snyder from CBS Sports. Guys, here we go. We've asked each of you to come up with 3 bold predictions. Lead us off with a big one here, Matt.
Okay, yeah. Well, he just won the home run derby, and we saw him play in the All-Star game. I'm going to go with Cal Raleigh hits exactly 60 home runs. Right on the nose, exactly 60. Look, he's at 38 right now. So he's 22 away, obviously. He's on pace for 64. We've never seen a catcher hit more than 48 in a season, which Salvador Perez did a few years ago. I like the fact that he's a switch hitter. So he's relatively matchup proof. That is, you know, you get a tough lefty who's really hard on lefties. Well, he's hitting right-handed. Likewise, a right-hander really hard against righties. Well, he hits against some left-handed. So I think that he can keep up a decent pace. I don't think he's going to keep up the pace for 64, but I do think that he's close enough that he's going to get to 60, and that's why I say I'm going to make it fun and say exactly 60 home runs for Cal Raleigh this season.
All right, Larry, looking for good odds for a team to make a big push in the second half. Who you got?
Toronto Blue Jays, it's no fluke what they've been doing. They're on a 29-13 run heading into the All-Star break. Absolutely dominant at home, 32-16, averaging over 5.3 runs per game. And I just love the way this lineup is constructed. I mean, it's just exhausting to face them when you think about Guerrero, who's not even really hitting yet, only 12 homers, but Bichette and Springer and Barger and Clement and Kirk and Lucas and on and on and on. That lineup is just wearing out opposing teams, and I think they're going to be very aggressive at the deadline. They need some help in the rotation and potentially in the bullpen. They could get Duran or Jax from the Twins. They're talking about maybe Merrill Kelly, a Zach Gallen. And oh yeah, they've got nothing from Anthony Santander this season. He's due back next month. Dalton Varsho coming back soon. I think this is the Blue Jays here in an AL that is just not loaded with any dominant teams. You know, the Tigers are off to an amazing first half, but there's no true powerhouse. I think they can take it.
All right, keep your eyes on the Jays. You get good numbers coming at it right now, coming out of the All-Star break. Matt, let's go on to bold prediction number 2. Maybe looking for a record breaker, at least a milestone maker?
Yeah, it's fresh in my mind. I just talked to Pete Crow Armstrong on Monday, tried to get him to say he wants to be a 40-40 guy. Of course, he wouldn't take the bait. He just said, look, if it's one of those things that happens at the end of the season, that's pretty cool. But I'm just concentrating on us winning games. And obviously, if I play well and we win games, yeah, that's great. Look, no Cub has ever been a 40-40 guy. There's only been one Cubs player ever to get to 30-30, and that was Sammy Sosa. So I'm looking for PCA here to be the Cubs' first 40-40 guy ever. He would only be the 7th player of all time. He's on pace for 42 home runs and 46 steals right now. He's only 23 years old. He's still improving. He's getting better on the lefty-lefty stuff. We saw in the All-Star game, he had a double against the left-handed pitcher. So, yeah, I'm going to go with PCA to keep it going and get over 40-40.
All right, Larry, how about someone to win an end-of-the-season award, even though they might not be the favorite right now?
Nick Kurtz, AL Rookie of the Year. His numbers have been falling down to plus 340 because over the last month, guys, 12 home runs, an OPS over 1,100. I mean, he was drafted number 4 overall for a reason last season. I mean, you look at how often he barrels up the ball, 17% of the time. That's like Aaron Judge-like, the elite bat speed, the launch angle, all of the things that you look for in a legit power hitter. So if he gets to 30 home runs, which is well within his range right now, I think he's going to overtake his teammate Jacob Wilson and bring home that award.
All right, last of the bold predictions here as we come out of the All-Star break. Matt, give us something to clip off.
Yeah, I'm going to say the Dodgers do not make the World Series. They lose at some point in the National League, whether it's the NLDS or the NLCS. I do think they're going to win the National League West, but it's an incredibly tough road through the National League this year. And if you look right now, baseballreference.com projections at 10.8% chance for the Dodgers to make the World Series. So this isn't that ridiculously bold when there's almost a 90% chance that they don't make it. So I'm going to say, if you look right now, Cubs and Phillies will be a really tough out in the playoffs. The Mets might get things together. The Brewers look like they could well get things together. The Padres, maybe they'll have everything clicking at the right time. There's just so many teams capable of being powerhouses. So I'm going to say the Dodgers do not make the World Series. And if I'm pressed to pick one, I'll just go with the Cubs. All
right. Well, Larry, Matt's put the marker down for the final of the bold predictions. What you got from a wagering standpoint?
I like the Mets to overtake the Phillies in the division, even though they do have a tougher schedule in the second half, but they got 3 starting pitchers back healthy over the last couple of weeks. And Juan Soto seems like he's on a mission right now. Didn't make the All-Star game for the first time ever. He's up to 23 homers. I think he's going to have a historic second half. And I also like the Mets to go out and get Gino Suarez. 31 homers on the Diamondbacks makes a lot of sense with the hole that the Mets have had with production at third base. Give me the Mets to beat the Phillies in the East.
2 different types, 3 bold predictions from each. Larry Hartstein and Matt Snyder, thanks a lot. Let's play ball in the second half, folks. And here's a look at your odds to win the World Series coming out of the All-Star break. And the Dodgers still with the shortest of all odds. Tigers, best team in the American League right now. They have the second shortest odds at plus 700.